Well, if you're up for it, we have got another debate. We are going to go right into it as we are kind of pushing our time. The Congressional District 24 candidates are going to be coming out here in just a minute. Our moderator is going to be Sean McCafferty. He'll be, yes. He's from up in the Collin County area. We had him run for Congressional District 3 a few years ago. So I'm going to let you guys work this out while we wait just a second to bring out our next people. We're good? Okay. All right, they're back here. I'm going to go ahead and get it started so that we don't delay any. Sean said, hurry up. This is Sean McCafferty, attorney and former candidate for CD3. And this is Francine Lee, running for CD24, and Sam Epler, running for CD24. Thank you guys for coming, and I'll let Sean take it.
You're going to let me take it?
You go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I don't have anything prepped or anything, just these questions. I'm teasing you. It's fine. Thank everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. We have two excellent candidates for Congressional District 24. Our format is pretty much what you just heard. I don't think we do rapid fires, and we're not going to do an opening statement. So if you want to introduce yourselves in the first answer, that's fine. But I think they know who you are. Your faces are on the billboards outside. And we'll just sort of start getting going. And it's going to be a 2-minute answer, 30-second response. If you mention the other person's name, I'll give you another 30 seconds to respond to that. And that's how it's going to go. And then we'll have 3-minute closing statements. Okay? All right. The first question is about sort of your district, the demographics in the district, and sort of how you plan to win the district. So in 2020, Congressional District 24 was considered a prime battleground district in Texas. The Democratic challenger, Candace Valenzuela, lost by less than 2 percentage points and with a vote gap of less than 5,000 votes. After redistricting, however, the demographic map changed dramatically. The incumbent won by nearly 20 points. The Texas legislature's gerrymandering efforts reduced Hispanic and Black citizen voting age percentages from approximately 30% to 19%, and increased white percentages from 55% to 70%. Given these substantial demographic shifts and apparent built-in partisan advantage for the incumbent, how can you mobilize the electorate, and why are you best positioned to win in a contested general election against a well-funded incumbent? First question goes to Francine, since you're closest to me. I just made that up.
Hello. Thank you for the question. To win in 2024, I do have a plan. There's a 10-point plan strategy, but I'm going to share just a few. What I've been doing in the past decades, just going out, GOTV, which is getting the vote out, going out, talking to communities, different communities, African American, Nepalese, Korean, Vietnamese, Muslim, faith-based community, getting them to understand the importance of voting. Also, making sure that we engage our youth. I do help participate in March to the Poll event, and we do host a candidate forum and voter education and meet and greet and stuff like that to ensure that they understand the importance of going out and vote and getting them registered and prepare for each election, and reminding them that there are at least 5 elections each year in Texas that is a primary runoff, a municipal runoff, and the general election. So election is just not once every 4 years like most people understand it to be, but it is continuing, and I need them to have that commitment, promise me that they will go out and vote frequently every time there is an election. And I think, I said 3, I forgot. I've been doing this so long that I don't remember. Teamwork, team building, mobilizing. I'm on the SDEC formerly, and we are always looking at a proper way to message to ensure that we bring out voters to the community. And issues that's important to all of us. Yes, we're unique. Each one of us has our own personal opinion and biases, but as an American, as a Texan, as a member of the community, we are role model for our future generation, and we need to learn how to work together to get things done.
Thank you. Mr. Epler?
Thank you. And first, thank you, Sean, for moderating. Thank you, Ginny, for putting this together with Richardson area Democrats. Go RAD. Thank you as well to the Student Government Association of Richland Campus. I know that Preston Hall of Democrats and Progress Texas also sponsored, so thank you all for making this exercise in democracy possible. I was a high school principal, but before that I was a math teacher. And I want to do a little bit of math because I think the math has hope contained inside of it. So yes, this district, Congressional District 24, is an R+10. That means the politicos think that it's going to go 55% to Beth Van Dyne and 45% to either myself or Miss Lee. They, the politicos, gave that same distinction, that R+10, to Congressional District 32, call an all-red seat, in 2016. No Democrat ran. Nobody ran. They thought it wasn't winnable. Hillary Clinton carried that district by almost 6 points. In 2014, yeah, let's clap that up, right? In 2014, Sean mentioned that last cycle, Beth won by 20 points. Well, in 2014, Pete Sessions won by 39 points. In 2018, we all know what happened. Colin Allred sent Pete Sessions packing to Waco for 2 years, and then he went back to Congress. I say this because we can do this. If we run a campaign, if we have a candidate, an infrastructure, a community that comes together and decides that enough is enough, I do not want to have an extremist Marjorie Taylor Greene Jr. representing me in the U.S. House of Representatives, we can get out there and talk to people in the middle, independents, that don't want to see a representative go on Newsmax every day and talk about her no votes on every single dollar that comes back to North Texas, that goes on Newsmax and talks about why we should defund our Department of Education, the Department of Homeland Security, pretty much everything. So thank you, my time's up, and I'm excited for this opportunity.
Thank you. The next question is going to be on immigration reform, which is a hot topic in the news today. The Republican Party has made clear that immigration will be a central issue for voters in the 2024 election. The House GOP refuses to deal with the president or the Senate on immigration reform, and Governor Abbott has defied recent Supreme Court rulings and has mobilized the Texas National Guard to militarize a border defense against illegal crossings. What proposals do you favor that actually address the influx of immigrants along the southern border? And what kind of legislation could be proposed that would actually resolve or reduce the immigration pressure along the Texas, Arizona, California borders? Sam?
Thank you for that question. I want to be very clear. This is going to be the topic that we are going to hear every single day until November 5th. Immigration, 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 the border, the border, the border. And the reason for that is not because one side wants to get something done. The Republican Party, led by our previous Cheeto in chief, Donald Trump, he has called pretty much every member of Congress and said, don't make a deal. Don't solve the problem. Because it's politically advantageous for our border to be unsecure, for immigrants to die, for our communities to not have the resources they need to stop human trafficking, to stop fentanyl smuggling, because 9 months of politics is more important to him than solving a problem. And that's horrible. It's one of the reasons that I'm running. I don't believe in this kind of extremist firebrand politics that would lead somebody in government to decide to delay a solution for political gain. There is currently a bipartisan deal in the Senate that is putting forth thousands of new Border Patrol officers, thousands of asylum officers, immigration court judges and clerks, money for new technology to inspect vehicles at our ports of entry, but the House of Representatives and Beth Van Dyne will absolutely block any of that from happening until November. And that is what we need to signal as Democrats as the problem in government, and that is what we need to run on. I am excited to talk about the border. I want to solve these problems. I want to run for office. I want to be in office to get something done. Politics, to me, this should not be a career. It is an opportunity to get something done and then pass the torch on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epler. Ms. Lee?
My approach will be similar to what the president has put forth. As the member of Congress, I am charged to work with the other side to ensure that legislation that benefits the community is passed. Yes, as a legal professionals, we need more judges because without judges, those orders cannot get signed. If they're not signed paperwork, there will be a backlog. We do need more equipment to go through. There's machines that need to be installed so that the backlog or the line can be easily rushed through. More Border Patrol agents would also help move the line along. Now, in terms of crisis, I think that if we are unable to handle the crisis, the border crisis, the migration crisis, we should call in the international community to come and help us. I myself came here as a refugee. Asylum can only be applied for when they're here in the U.S. Refugees, you have to stay in your country to apply. And our paperwork was processed at the Thailand refugee camp, and it was by the support of the late Rosalind Carter that the situation, the crisis that was at the Thailand refugee camp was brought up to the world stage, and the international community came in and helped and completed the paperwork where every family can go to those countries, France, Germany, England, the U.S. Our family is the only one that came to the U.S. So, you know, the international community can come and help. We don't have to take it alone.
Thank you. Your time is up. And so for these substantive questions, the next series of questions are going to be substantive policy questions like that one. There is a 30-second response if you would like, if you were asked first. So since you were the first one to be asked sort of a substantive policy question, if you have a response for 30 seconds, feel free to take it. Also, feel free to decline. Up to you.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, we need to support the president's solutions right now to secure our border and to surge money and resources. But we also need to talk about long-term solutions, because just short-term fixes, that's not how we should govern. You know, when you look at people coming from Latin America, I taught these students. They walked 1,200 miles in some cases. They had siblings that died on this journey. And when you ask them why they're coming, they say, well, because I didn't have a roof over my head and my parents didn't have jobs. And so when we start legislating for the next 10 years, we need to fundamentally look at where American business and dollars are flowing. Why are we having
That's 30
hundreds
seconds,
of...
Sam.
That's my 30 seconds?
That's your 30 seconds.
Oh, man, I didn't even get to my policy.
You can finish your statement, though. Come on.
Let's reallocate some of that funding to Latin America and make this hemisphere strong. You don't see an influx of people coming down from Canada when, you know, there's a golf tournament across the lake in Detroit. So why don't we focus on making sure that Latin America is stronger as opposed to our interests 6,000 miles away across the Pacific?
Okay. Our next topic is going to be women's health and reproductive rights. Ms. Lee, you're the first go with this one. Texas was a leading state in outlawing abortion procedures and the first state to sort of outsource potential enforcement actions to private parties to prevent and discourage medical providers from giving essential care to women facing critical reproductive health decisions. As we all know from the news recently, Kate Cox has sued the state of Texas to challenge the law, was forced to leave her home state to obtain a safe medical procedure that was otherwise outlawed. As a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, what can you do to ensure that a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions is protected? And is there a way for Congress to create legislation that would undo or reduce the harm of Texas's current draconian abortion laws?
Thank you. As a member of Congress, I will definitely do my best to codify Roe. And I won't be able to do it alone. I have to work with the other 434 members to get this thing done. Growing up, I fear that my children now have less rights than I do, and that's a reality. I enjoyed the freedom, the American ideals that this country has bestowed upon me. And my two daughters' lives will be in jeopardy if this remain in place. I know that there are differences of opinion when it comes to bodily autonomy, but we have to respect our individualism, and I believe that as an American, we do have a right to our privacy, and I would never want anyone to come and interfere with the decision regarding my children's medical decisions, and I don't think government should too. Our founding fathers have made it clear that we, the people, should have the freedom to live our life within the confines of the rules of the Constitution and the law of the United States. And we should not allow someone with a someone or some entity that disagree with our basic health care needs to dictate to us what's right and what's wrong for our family.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Mr. Epler?
Thank you. So a member of Congress, a newly elected member in January 2025, the first thing they will have to do is certify the presidential election. That will be the first thing that I do. Beth Van Dyne objected and did not do that in 2020. After that is done, the first bill I will propose is to codify Roe v. Wade. And the reason for that is because of freedom. You know, Texas is a state that loves to talk about freedom. But right now, under Ken Paxton, who apparently thinks that his law degree from the University of Virginia gives him the right to tell doctors what to do at UT Southwestern, in Texas, women do not have freedom. My sister had a high-risk pregnancy with triplets, and she was recently in town, and when she landed at DFW and we picked her up, she said, wow, I have less rights here. And it was a profound statement, and she followed it up with, I'm so glad that I didn't have my 3 beautiful girls in Texas, because I would have been scared every single day. And what happened with Kate Cox is horrible. It's unimaginable. And it was made worse by these draconian laws that are on the books. You know, these laws go so far as to say, at the county level, there are counties in Texas that are talking about pulling people over to say, you know, if you travel through our county to go out of state to try to get a medically necessary abortion, we will prosecute you in our county. Think about that for a second. Does that sound like freedom? Police officers indiscriminately pulling people over because they're women and asking, ma'am, what's the nature of your business today? To me, that's unacceptable, it's un-American, it's un-Texan, and that's why the first thing that I would do in the United States Congress is to codify Roe v. Wade. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee, you have 30 seconds to respond if you'd like to.
It is extremely sad that the governor and his team are actually attacking women because they disagree with our reproductive choices. And I just find that as Texans, we are better together, and our individualism is what makes us stronger together.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. The next topic is gun reform. And the first question will go to you, Sam. Sulphur Springs, Uvalde, Allen, we've all heard these cities. It's the list of Texas cities, some of them, impacted by horrific acts of mass gun violence. Gun reform action appears stalled in Congress, and with Texas legalizing constitutional carry, it does not appear that it is at the top of any agenda here. What reforms do you believe are achievable at the national level? And how do you mobilize your electorate to support what are largely and wildly popular regulations on gun ownership, sales, and safety?
Thank you so much. Up until last month, I was a high school principal in Greg Abbott's Texas. And I took a leave to run for Congress because I think this is important. I think running against extremists is important. As a principal, I would watch my students get on the bus, get off the bus, and I would think to myself, you know, what happens if somebody showed up today with an assault rifle that they might have gone out during their lunch break and bought in 2 minutes or less, quicker than they could have mobile ordered Chipotle, and showed up at my school, and it was just me and my SRO, my school resource officer, with a sidearm. What would have happened? And I talked about that with my SRO many times, and we were in agreement. We would both die because the bullets coming out of those weapons come so fast, using NATO 5.56 round ammunition, that we could do nothing to stop them from getting to our students. And it's something that really frustrates me. And I always talk about a Fox News poll that they did. And they polled background checks, waiting periods, red flag laws, things that are common sense, closing some loopholes like the gun show loophole. And the majority of Americans support that. Gun owners support that. You know, everyone in my family owns guns. My brother-in-law is in the Navy. He has like 10 guns. And he told me, we all support these kind of laws. It's just extremist politicians that are making us less safe by not just doing the right thing. And so if I was elected to Congress, I would support all of the above, because I believe that is what government should do. It should strive to make us all a little bit safer each and every day. Thank you.
Francine?
As a child, I witnessed great atrocity. Gun violence, I never thought would ever hit our streets. But as of late, you know, I worry about my kids going to school and having be placed in a situation where I would never want any kid to go through what I've gone through. And there are parents that have lost children due to gun violence. As a member of Congress, I will do my best to ensure that, one, we repeal the Dickey Amendment, make sure that the CDC has enough funding to actually do a survey and tell us the facts about gun violence. We all have enjoyed our Second Amendment rights. I don't believe that it is an encroachment on our personal liberty, civil liberty, to have a little bit of regulation, red flag law, background check, maybe even ensuring that those who are selling are licensed professionals who can actually sell those equipment. There is nothing wrong in a little bit of regulation to preserve and protect our future most precious generation.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Mr. Epler, anything to add?
None at this time.
All right. Our next couple of questions are going to go overseas, since you guys are running for national office. Sometimes foreign policy affects the U.S. House of Representatives in our country. So we'll first talk about the recent Israel and Palestine conflict. The October 2023 terror attacks from Hamas created an existential threat to Israel, and Israel has responded with massive military response along and inside the Gaza Strip. The result is a massively unstable region with threats from Iranian-sponsored proxies in Lebanon, Gaza, the West Bank, and Yemen. So far, the United States has stood beside its ally Israel, but the International Court of Justice just ruled that Israel must take action to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza during its military operations. Do you support the call for a ceasefire and a return of hostages from Hamas to Israel? And secondly, how far do you believe the president may act in responding militarily to Houthi rebel attacks or other subnational terror attacks in the region before he has to come to folks like you in Congress for that military action? And I think you're first, Francine.
Okay, for this one, I'm going to stand up, okay? Yes, we should call for a ceasefire for the return of our hostages. Second, Israel is our ally, and we need to support them. Third, the president need our backing, need our support, but we also got to understand that currently, disagree with me or not, our dimes are a part of this genocide. I just don't think that we can have stability in the world if we allow the Houthi to attack our commercial vessels in the Red Sea. We got to stop them. That's why we're there. To me, they're just modern day pirates, and we just have to stop these pirates from destroying our economy. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Epler?
Thank you. October 7th was a horrible day. 1,200 Jewish citizens of the state of Israel were hunted down, killed, tortured, live streamed, taken hostage because of the fact that they were Jewish and they live in Israel. I unequivocally condemn Hamas. They must be destroyed. And that goes the same for all the Iranian-backed proxies in the region. Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels, these are all proxies of Iran that are funding terrorism and destabilization in a region. Now, you asked about, do I support President Biden, forming international coalitions with 20 plus countries to secure, international waters? Of course, right? The Houthi rebels should not be committing acts of piracy in 2024. And I am proud that Biden is going out and getting an international response to police and patrol and make sure that our seas are safe for commerce and, honestly, for democracy and countering Iran. Now, the question of Israel and a ceasefire, we have now had, 20-something thousand Palestinians die. I believe the indiscriminate bombing should stop. I think we should move to tracking down individually special forces going out and killing each member of Hamas that put together that unbelievable attack. That attack in a country of 7 million Jews is equivalent to 30 9/11s happening. Hundreds of these people were just at a music festival. If it was ACL and 400 people were murdered at ACL, could you imagine the response? Now, I am pro-Palestinian, I am pro-Israel, I am 100% anti-Hamas, and I don't agree with far-right policies of Netanyahu. And I think all of those can be true. And I really do understand this issue, and I want to take 10 seconds here. I have a minor in Arabic. I lived with a Palestinian family in Jordan. My sister-in-law served in the IDF. My brother's family is Jewish. I've been to Israel 3 times. I've slept on IDF military bases. This is a complicated issue, but it deserves a very sophisticated answer and response. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee, you have 30 seconds to respond if you'd like.
We have a president. He is the president of the United States. We have to work with Netanyahu. He's the president of Israel, the prime minister. And we have to be able to sit down and work with him to ensure that innocent civilian are not used as targets. This situation hits home, and I get extremely emotional because it brings back a lot of memory, and it's lived experience. It's not something I read in book, it's lived experience that, you know, we have to do our best to ensure that human rights and civilian lives are protected as best we can. And we, the United States, are champions of human rights. And we have to be able to say, please, think about the lives before we send bombs into a region and just...
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Sorry.
That's no problem. Okay, I've already forgotten now who I started with. Who had that question last? You had it first, right? All right, this one's gonna be first for you, Mr. Epler. Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine is in its own ongoing existential crisis with Russia. The Biden administration has been resolute in standing with Ukraine and insisting on security assistance, fighting Russia's unlawful invasion. Do you support continued military aid to Ukraine? And if so, why do you support it? And how do you think Congress can pass military aid to Ukraine given the GOP's apparent all-out effort to obstruct any Ukrainian spending package?
Thank you. And just to clarify, it's just House Republican opposition. Actually, Senate Republicans want to send aid. A large majority of them do. And we see that in many issues. It's House Republicans that play politics and extremism. I 100% support sending aid to Ukraine. In fact, I think it's one of the best returns on our investment that we've ever made. I believe that when you look at dollars sent abroad, right, we've lost 0 American service members, and we've strengthened NATO, we've protected Europe, and we've stopped Russian incursion onto Ukrainian territory, effectively. And when you look at the issue of this funding, and you look at the people in the House that are arguing against it, you just have to go back in time and think back to 2012 when Mitt Romney was running for president, and he answered a question at a debate, a little bit bigger debate than this, but I like this debate a lot. And that debate question asked him what he thought the most existential threat was abroad, and he answered Russia and Vladimir Putin. That was the presidential candidate for the GOP. Flash forward 12 years from now, you have the GOP cozying up to Putin. We have people saying, oh, he's a great guy. Vladimir Putin, someone who's committed more international atrocities, genocides, than anybody. The biggest autocratic bully of our generation, of our time. And people in the American government are praising him. Now, again, I say go back and look at the GOP senators that support this issue, right? And when you don't have an election every 2 years, they vote a little different than their, Colin Allred says, crackpots in the House. And that's the truth, right? And I'm running against somebody that, again, is playing politics with international order, democratic values, and our allies. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee?
On the issue of Ukraine and Russia, I believe that we should continue to fund the Ukraine Defense Force because, to me, if we don't, we might risk what happened in Vietnam where we had to pull out and all hell broke loose in that region. And I just feel that like Sam said, Putin is dangerous. Hillary said so. Our national security advisor said so. Russia is a threat, and Ukraine is our only line of defense in that region. And that's all I got. I mean, we have to protect our assets, we protect our allies. If not, we might go into an unstable region, and we don't want that.
Okay. Do you have any rebuttal? You're good? All right. Well, Jenny gave me discretion to be able to ask follow-up questions should I want to. So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, and I'm going to circle back to you since we have a little bit more time with this question. Given the fact that the House GOP is so obstructionist, what strategies do you think can be employed to actually pass Ukrainian aid in the House should you take office?
I think we need to vote them out. I mean, truthfully, I think, and it's really the reason that I'm running. I wouldn't be running if an extremist held this office. You know, I really look up to the people in Dallas County that ran against extremists in 2018. We got rid of Matt Rinaldi, Huffines, Pete Sessions. We didn't get rid of him, but we sent him way south, right? It's actually ironic because Colin went to Baylor and then he sent him down to Waco. But we need to get rid of extremists, and we need to give voters a campaign to vote for in November that matches common sense values. You know, honestly, I like to say this joke sometimes. Beth Van Dyne might be twice my age, but I'm really the only adult running for this seat. She is playing political theater, and I have real ideas that I want to enact. And so that's how I'll respond to that. I really think that this issue will only be solved, and so many other issues, if we vote extremists out of office. Thank you.
Ms. Lee, you want to add anything?
I'm a legal professional. I have a lot of people come before me, and I'm having to work with them in order to come to a common solution, and that's what we're going to have to do. There's 435 others, people that I'm going to have to work with. I can't get this thing done alone. We already got half on our side, but we don't have the majority. We have to go and work with the others to ensure that this package gets passed. I will share them my story. I'll let them know where I'm coming from, that it's not, I will set partisan politics aside to ensure that we get the job done for the people of these United States.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lee. All right. Moving back domestically a little bit here, we're going to talk about the economy. Bill Clinton famously beat Judge H.W. Bush by focusing on a deteriorating economy. Biden, however, is overseeing an economic recovery and a growing economy. Recent reports showed the economy grew at 3.3% in the final quarter of 2023, and that since the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, the rate of inflation across the economy has declined substantially. How do you communicate this economic revival to the community, and how do you combat the false negative advertisements fueling a false sense of economic anxiety amongst many in our population? And I think that's you, Francine.
So the president is doing great. Yesterday, there's a poll that came out, or a news article came out that says, the economy is stronger than all the analysts had expected. But are we feeling it here? I'm not. My roof is leaking right now, and and we're trying to make sure that we get that thing fixed. And we're having to deal with our insurance. When will the insurance cut kicked in? 15% deductible, 10% deductible. That's a lot. That's still money that we have to come up with before the insurance kicked in. When you go to the grocery store, everything's more expensive. Yes, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is helping, with the infrastructure, highways, bridges are being built, people are being employed, but yet the inflation, we're still feeling it right now. And it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to overcome, to get past the hump, to be where we hopefully will be before the pandemic hit. But otherwise, it's a slow process. It's working, and I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I feel it myself today, but it is getting there.
Thank you. Mr. Epler?
Thank you. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, always refers to these kind of really loud lies as coming from the hate machine, which is, he calls it the hate machine because it's all those loud people on, radio, TV, podcasts, a lot of crazy podcasts out there. Ted Cruz, 3 times a week, you can listen to him on a podcast. But that hate machine is just spewing lies, right? I mean, about our economy that's getting better, Sean, like you mentioned. And they lie about everything incessantly. I mean, they'll say, oh, Biden, he's declaring war on oil and gas. Well, we're producing more oil and gas now than any time in our nation's history. It's under Biden, right? Now, I have a lot of ideas on energy and making sure that our energy companies can invest in renewable resources going forward. But I think the answer to your question lies with pointing out the lies. And I hope, and I know the Biden team will do this, I hope they use their dollars that they're raising to point out the facts. Point out the price of gas. Point out the declining level of inflation. Point out that, 2 years ago, everyone thought we were heading for like a recessionary cliff. Well, where's the recession? I don't see a cliff. And so that is what we must do. And we must be on the same page that we must be on a track to a better tomorrow. And the answer does not lie in House extremist ideology, which is just to defund everything, right? That 100% is not going to be pro-business. Beth Van Duyne likes to think that she's pro-business, but she votes against every, there's $35 billion coming back to North Texas to rebuild our infrastructure, roads, airports, and she votes against all of that. She votes no on all of that. And so I think that we owe it to ourselves to point it out with facts and then hold these people accountable for their votes and run on that specifically. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Francine, you have 30 seconds to respond if you'd like.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I mean, we have to hold her accountable, and as your elected leader, as a member of Congress, my responsibility and charge is to ensure that we bring all maximize funding down to our district. And Beth is not serving our community. She has voted against any legislation that would benefit our community because she votes partisan. And again, as an elected leader, you represent your entire district, and you got to be able to set that partisanship aside and work with the other side to ensure that the community benefit, not me, the community benefits.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. All right. So let's fast forward. One of you has won the election. Now what? Do you have a specific piece of legislation that you want to pass? Or think of it this way, what's the one thing that you most want to affect when you get to Washington, and how would you accomplish it? Mr. Epler.
I already talked about Roe v. Wade, that's number one, but I have three more, and I'll go quick, so I don't want to go over my time. First thing I would do, I'm big into education, big into workforce development. It really upsets me that states aren't funding their teachers, right? It upsets me that we have vacancies in math and chemistry classrooms. It upsets me that maybe the cure for cancer is in a student's mind that's in a zip code that doesn't have a biology teacher. And so what I would do with my second piece of legislation is I would propose a tax credit, $7,500, the same amount we give Teslas and electric vehicles, and I would propose it to every single American teacher. There's 4 million of them, 400,000 in Texas. That's $30 billion directly into the pocket of American educators. I'm an econ major. If you want better people, pay them. That's pretty simple. That's what I would do. I think the future, I think education is that important, and I don't think it's a political issue. And oh, by the way, we have the tax credit. It's pretty easy. Copy, paste it, then pass it. Second thing I would do is national service. I think that we need to bring this country together. I think that we should support our community colleges. I think that we should make college and education and credentialing easier for people in America and more affordable. I think we should propose 2 years of national service. If you complete it, you get 2 years of free community college. Free, right? You can use it for four-year universities as well. And I think that is the direction. Ro Khanna, he's a great congressman. He is proposing that all community colleges in America get twice the funding to become technology hubs and to be retooled and retrained for the future. I support stuff like that. The third thing I do in my 19 seconds is term limits and a ban on individual stock trading. Again, this should not be a career for life. I think in Congress, in the House, you should serve 5 terms maximum. In the Senate, 3 terms. That's 10 years, 18 years, 28 years is far too much time for any of them. Thank you.
Time limits, not just term limits. Thank you, Mr. Epler. Francine?
That's our Democratic playbook, term limits. It's very important that we understand this is a position to serve the public, and it should not be a career. You go in, do what's best for the community, and then you go out, and along the way, you mentor, uplift, and bring up future generations. I'm doing that in what I do, whether I win this or not. it's not going to stop me from being who I am by me, myself, as an individual. You know, I touch the lives of maybe 3, 4, 20, 30 people. As your elected leader, I would be able to touch, you know, maybe 100,000 or so at a time to encourage them to come out and vote and participate and engage. Voting doesn't cost us anything. Our founding father ensured that each of us has a right, has a voice, that we run our country. I'm sorry? Correct. And also to educate our community about the importance of making sure that we conduct the census. That is how we're going to maximize funding. I really would like to serve on House Appropriation when I get elected, because without funding, there's nothing much we can do for our community, and I'm all about making sure that services and programs, education is properly funded so that we have a future generation that can take care of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Epler?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. We're going to proceed to our closing statements. Each of you will have 3 minutes to give a closing pitch to the audience and to your future constituents. And I don't remember who I started with, so I'm just going to start with you, Mr. Epler, because you're furthest away from me. We'll go backwards.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. And thank you all for being here today on AFC NFC Championship weekend. I know that the Chiefs are going to play the Ravens and Lions 49ers. I hope that Francine and I were close to that level of entertainment, but I suspect we weren't. Anyways, I'm just really excited about the possibility. I jumped into this race because I looked up who my representative was, and I saw her votes. And I said, instead of complaining, why not just run? I'm 27 years old. I've spent my career, the past 6 years, teaching high school math. I was an assistant principal at Molina High School in Oak Cliff, serving students getting dual credit and associate's degrees at Mountain View College. And then I became a principal of an innovative school, Northlake Early College High School, where students got their associate's degree for free in high school. Some of them, most of them, went to 4-year universities. Some of them took a bonus from the Dallas Police Department because they had an associate's degree and served today in our police force. To me, I thought, wow, this is what we should be doing in this country. We should be focusing on programs like this. Schools like mine, where 98% of my students last year graduated with an associate's degree and a high school diploma. That is what government should be doing. But when I turned on the TV, all I saw were extremist leaders talking about book bans, talking about The Kite Runner and To Kill a Mockingbird and Toni Morrison and why they shouldn't be in our libraries. And I thought, what gives? This is wrong. We have so many issues and problems in this country. We should have a government that tries to address them instead of a government that just tries to burn everything down and run from the problems. And so that is what this campaign is about. It's about offering an alternative to extremism. My promise is that when I get elected, I'll vote to certify the presidential election. If that's Donald Trump or Joe Biden, that's fine. I will certify that election because I believe in democracy, I believe in the Constitution, and I believe that's what makes this country great. Popular sovereignty, the people. And this is a seat in the people's house. So thank you. Please follow along with our campaign. Please go to www.samepler.com, get involved, get a yard sign, throw a couple bucks if you can. Beth Van Dyne is incredibly well funded. She has millions of dollars right now, and we need to get to parity with her. And we need to get rid of extremists from the top to the bottom. So support everybody running against Donald Trump, running against Ted Cruz, running against Beth Van Dyne, running against state House representatives that are trying to send private school voucher bills through the House in our state. I mean, it's never ending, and we need everyone to get involved. So thank you for your time. Go democracy, go vote.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Lee.
Thank you. I am a paralegal. I've worked for two judges, Stanton and Judge Tillery, currently going on 13 plus years now. Previously, I was in the legislature, so I do have the experience, the knowledge to actually understand each of the wording, each piece of legislation that comes out, that we need to make sure that it's properly worded so that the judiciary can actually interpret the law. Also, I'm a naturalized citizen. When I became naturalized, I took my oath of allegiance. Among those oaths was to preserve, protect, defend the Constitution and the law of the United States. Beth Van Dyne should not be sitting in our office currently. Like Sam said, she voted against certifying the vote. She has violated her oath of office, and she needs to be gone. And this is not politics, it's fact. And that's all I have to say about her. Don't get me wrong, we live in the same neighborhood. We live in the same gated neighborhood, and that is, our son graduated from the same school. That is the only commonality we have. There's nothing, and her and I are the same. I believe in our rule of law, and as a voting citizen, I believe that our vote is the most precious, most valuable, and it should not cost any of us anything to go out and vote. So we definitely, I will try my best to work to end Citizens United. We need to get money out of politics, because our founding father had envisioned that our government is run by each of us and not by corporations. So for me, that is my biggest reason for running, to ensure that our children, my children, has a future, future generation, and that we will have an America to live in and still be the beacon of hope for everyone. Because I came here with nothing, and our community has given me so much. And I can't say, because, you know, to be able to live and breathe without trepidation, without fear, that is the American ideals. People come here, you know, on the Statue of Liberty, it says, give me your tired, give me your poor, your huddled masses. And it's just, you know, the beacon of hope for all of us, that we can come here and live free and be a productive member of society and not be vilified. And just because we're different, we can be ourselves, be a part of community, and be an America that our children can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's give everyone another round of applause for these great candidates. Thank you very much for your time and your commitment to public service and being willing to stand up for what's right. And thank the crowd for coming and participating today. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. Maybe we'll have another one of these with the nominee against Beth Van Dyne in a few months.